Tell me about this hunter.
They say he uses a connection with animals to track his prey. And once you're on his list, there's only one way off.
It's Liam Crowley with Screen Rant here with the director of Kraven the Hunter. JC, thanks so much for taking the time.
How are you?
I'm fantastic, man. I got to see some footage of this movie yesterday, and I was blown away by the viscerality, the action. But I want to talk about the character first. When we first see Kraven, at least in the footage that I saw, he's breaking out of prison. He's on a bus and all that. Who is Kraven when we first meet him?
Yeah, I don't want to give away too much structural stuff, but there's that opening scene that we also showed at Comic-Con is sort of a classic, great teaser opening. So at that point he's he's a fully formed individual. He's the character that you're going to get to know in the film. I will say, and I guess I've said this publicly, but we've structured the film like a classic comic book origin story. The first film I ever saw in a theater was Richard Donner's Superman. So I'm a sucker for a classic origin story, and so there is a good chunk in the beginning of our film that then goes back to sort of a formative period in the brothers' lives, and then we kind of rejoin our story again. So, that opening that you saw is intended to just get you into the world, let you know who this guy is. And, he's, I think it's pretty safe to say that he's a guy who's operating, outside of the law. He's, a vigilante. He's attempting to commit his form of justice in the world, but that's a slightly ethical gray area that he's operating in.
Absolutely. And that opening scene, we really get to see the R-rated violence firsthand, and it was freaking awesome. I was emoting like crazy in the screening room. But I wanted to talk to you about the R rating beyond just the action. Obviously people, when they see R rating in comic book movie, they expect a bit more blood, a bit more viscerality, as I mentioned earlier. But what other elements of being able to play with an R rating do you feel like aided Kraven the Hunter's production process? Yeah,
look, when the studio brought that up to us, it was frankly not something that I took lightly. I've got a 14-year-old son that goes to these movies, and so it's not something that we just jumped into without really thinking it through. We quite frankly, when you go back and you really dive into the source material, you start to realize that the Kraven storyline is a dark journey, and so while we were absolutely excited to be able to play with a far more intense physicality and a little bit more of a stylized grindhouse style physical violence in the movie, what also opened itself up is the sort of emotional violence at the core of the Kraven character in the comic books. And there is this anyone who knows that storyline, there is an element with his mother and her mental illness and what that led for in the character, and then mental illness kind of follows in and out through the Kraven myths, and then we've got this amazing relationship with Russell Crowe, who plays the father in the film, that is really kind of the backbone of the emotional kind of struggle of the film, and then the brothers' relationship. And so I guess quick answer is that not only were we able to really play with the physical side of it, but I don't want to give too much away, but when people see the film, I think they will realize that we're also addressing a bunch of issues and really tackling how a villain is made a little bit more head on character wise than you ever would be able to with a PG rating.
That's awesome to hear. Sony is no stranger to taking these like Spider-Man villains and putting them front and center. We've seen it with Venom. We've seen it with Morbius. Now we're seeing it with Kraven. We saw it with Madam Web as well. All to varying levels of audience satisfaction. I would love to just get your thoughts on learning from the past. Saw what worked with Sony, what didn't work. What did you kind of take away from those prior anti-hero villain movies set at the center stage, and how did that impact how you told Kraven's story?
Yeah, so, I mean, it's a great question, and obviously you guys are steeped enough into this world. I'm not going to, fool anyone to think that all of those movies were the success that everyone wanted them to be. And so I've been able to watch that, that process and be a part of it. And look, for me, this all starts with where it has with every movie I've ever made, right? Which is, I got to treat my own little world, right? Like I made Margin Call. There were like 5 other, stockbroker movies in development at that time. And so the simple challenge for me always is like, make as great a movie as you possibly can. Every day you wake up, just what can you do to make the story that you're trying to tell better, right? And so, in a way, that was number one, right? All I can control is I go out and try and make the best movie, cast the best people, create the best action scenes, create the best drama, create the best story that I'm able to do. And so that was number one, right? It was just worry about your own house. But we did learn some things for sure about, in a way that play into that, which is like, let's not try to have this, be telling 16 different stories at once, right? Let's make a really good movie at its core, and where that goes will take care of it of itself. And so, that was number one. Is I didn't try to, I don't want to give away like the details of what we got going on, but I think from a structural standpoint, it was about, telling a movie that stands by itself, that is certainly a Marvel film, that has the Rhino and has Foreigner and has Chameleon and has Calypso. And, so it is, this amazing group of characters that we pulled together that are certainly drawn from all of the lore and all of the canon. Which I hope people will be really excited about what we've done. But in a way, the movie can stand on its own, and you can walk into this movie knowing everything about all of that and nothing. And it really will hopefully work for you in both ways. Last thing I think was this sort of anti-hero thing, which I think, as you know, following this whole world, is a very kind of, controversial thing that they've tried to do at times. And again, not trying to give away too much of what we've done, but we have structured this movie as a, classic origin story. It's going to tell you, in a really fun way that this is the journey that this character's on. And if you know the Kraven storyline and you take this stuff as seriously as we have, when that last frame of our movie comes up, I think, people will be excited that Kraven is teed up to, in success, that he will be teed up to go and carry on this journey, towards villainy, because that is the heart of this character. And so, he doesn't start the movie off in that place. I think that's what makes the film really cool, actually, is that you get to see that journey. But this is a family saga that if anyone knows if anyone knows Kraven's Last Hunt and loves that, that's a place for Aaron and I that, was a hallmark of why we signed up to do this. And, we've created a character that, over time, it will make sense that he ends up there.
Well, JC, I love that answer, and I'll leave you with this before we officially wrap up. Obviously, it seems like the future is bright for this character. Moving forward, I got 2 names for you, and I want to give you a this or that. Who is a bigger prey for Kraven after this film? Spider-Man or Knull?
Well, that I can't say. I know. Here's what I will say in response to that: the Kraven that Aaron has created and that we have created with him, the physical skills, the limitations, both emotional and physically, and the ability for him to adapt, and the fragile ego of Kraven, which I think is the comic books, is something that this is a character that can be goaded into situations and thinks he's sort of always right. There is I think what we're most excited about is that we've created a character that wants to go out into this world and show what he's capable of, and so either of those guys would be a pretty fun opportunity. But people got to come out, and I think that's the key thing here is people got to, there's a lot of sniping that's been going on that I've been watching over the last 3 years about all these films and everything. And our hope is that people, especially people that take these things pretty seriously, will understand that we've put our hearts into this. We've been working on it for 3 years. We think we've raised the bar storytelling wise to a whole nother level. I can hold this film up against any other film I've ever made, and story-wise, action, it's not even close, but story-wise, I can hold this film up against anything I've done, and I'm really proud of the storytelling we've done. And if people come out and support it, we'll be able to do a lot of fun things with the character. So we'll see. Come December 13th, please come out and come in with an open mind and an open heart and see if you like what we've done.
Amazing. You're speaking the gospel. What I've seen, I've loved so far, especially that helicopter sequence. When audiences see it, they will know exactly what I'm talking about. JC, I really appreciate your generosity with your time. Thank you again.
Talk soon.
You're a goddamn lunatic.
Oh, you just figured that out now?